Hey y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin-baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/reallife. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
In Louisiana, Governor Jeff Landry laid out his plans to crack down on crime, saying the New Orleans PD is in shambles and discussing plans to bring back executions in the state. In Oklahoma, a husband kills his wife less than 1 month after their marriage. And in New Jersey, vandalism using pepperoni is causing quite a stir. These stories and more coming at you today, Friday, February 2nd on Real Life Real Crime Daily, and I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino. Hello, fellas.
Friday.
Finally Friday.
Finally Friday.
Finally.
Freaky Friday. Forever Friday.
Don't fuck with the board Friday.
Every day is fuck with the board day.
For Jim.
Every day
Me
is
and
fuck
Guido
with the
had
board
to
day.
talk. Yeah.
We
need some shirts to say board shirts. BORED. Yeah.
I didn't realize, listening to today's show. I mean, sometimes we're in here together, we're talking over each other, we don't get every single thing we say. Jim was pretty aggressive with the old board.
I think he just invoked his fifth.
His fifth.
Yeah.
I think he gave him his third, meaning his third finger is what he did. Well,
asserted my Fifth Amendment
That's
privilege.
the third thing. Well, I guess it is.
I really feel sorry for that kid at University of South Carolina that got shot through the door, and the story that you did. One of the things that occurred to me as I was listening to it again is that you're in a university community. There have to be drunk kids running around all the time on that street. I know it's all legal and no one's going to jail over anything. It's just a kid died when it just really didn't seem
It's
like.
certainly a tragedy, but again, because I work so many different cases, so many different types of people, you just never know how someone's going to respond. But I can't say that I wouldn't respond any difference. What if I was inside intoxicated, sleeping on my couch, and I think the boogeyman's trying to break in? I mean, but what if a frog's ass was glass and it broke every time he jumped? But it's still hard.
But you look at your app and you see a dude in a pink shirt who looks like a college kid, and you got college kids all over your neighborhood because
still,
the university.
You can't put yourself inside that dude's head.
It's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. There's no doubt about that.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
So I'm on the spillway driving up from New Orleans this morning, and a sheriff gets on there, and the speed limit's 60, and normally I'm doing 72 to 75 on that thing.
That's a little excessive.
Okay, but he's going about 65. So now the entire spillway is going 65 because nobody wants to pass the sheriff, right? And then I'm hoping he's going to continue on in the 10. No, he takes the 55 that I take to get here. And so now I'm on the 55 that has a speed limit of 70, where I usually go 80, 82. Well, there he is doing 75 on the 55, and nobody will pass him.
Right.
If I passed him going 80, what's he going to do?
Okay. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. First of all, you should have identified which sheriff it is, because I understand what I'm saying is then when he turns on the 55, he's out of his jurisdiction. He can't do dick.
Well, if he was coming from an area where he had jurisdiction, but he could have been driving to an area that he does have jurisdiction.
Yeah, but that's like I get those two parishes confused.
St. Charles,
St. Charles and St. John's, or whatever it is. There's two of them that I get confused. But that when you hit Man Shack, the big high rise on that bridge, that's Tangipahoa Parish. Right. And I know there anybody out there from Tangipahoa Parish, but identify wherever they're from, and you could just blow their doors off. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to radio. If you really piss them off, they're not going to radio up in and see if there's a trooper in the area to catch you. So,
but what's sort of what's
pass.
Sort of the fudge factor for cops? You know, if a guy goes by, he's only going like 5 miles an hour faster. I'm not going to screw him.
Generally, if they're going from one jurisdiction to another, they're usually going to pick up an inmate or something. They don't even have the ability or the skill set to stop you and write you a ticket. So, but it's like going to the casino, rolling dice. If you got the balls to do it.
I say you should pass him next time.
Yeah. I used to
going 90, Jim. Doing at least 90.
I mean, just try to see how lucky.
Well, I just figure everybody. I figured the audience faces this same thing all the time.
Feel lucky? So my thing is identify what jurisdiction you're from. If you know your parishes and they're not from that parish, I mean, pass them. I wouldn't pass them at 90, but if they're going 65, then he's breaking the law too. If it's in a 60, right? But generally, you get an 8 to 9 mile grace period. If you're, let's sit on the side of the road, if you're going 8 miles an hour over, they're not going to write you a ticket.
I think it's a 20 mile an hour grace period.
Yeah. When you have
that's the number I was
when you got
for.
a badge in your pocket, there's no limit.
There's no limit.
Of course, those stupid ass cameras in New Orleans give you a ticket for going 2 or 3 miles an hour.
There's no,
it's crazy.
There's no getting around those. So anyway, I'll tell you the story another day. And let's get down to some true crime time for Friday.
All right, and we're gonna bring you to a press conference. Governor Jeff Landry had Wednesday morning, huge press conference, and in that press conference, he described the New Orleans Police Department as a force in shambles. He outlined plans to return a permanent Louisiana State Police troop to that city, and he's rolling it out, calling it Troop NOLA. Plans for Troop NOLA include a contingent of 40 troopers, and it would mark the first permanent Louisiana State Police troop in New Orleans since Troop N, which was a locally funded troop that policed in and around the French Quarter, but it was disbanded in 2020. We're going to have a crime session right after Mardi Gras, and part of that crime session is going to help us put in place the funding mechanism to get that troop up and running, Landry said. We are going to work with the legislature so they understand that having a permanent troop in New Orleans is the only way I see to keep the city safe over the next decade. The New Orleans Police Department is in shambles because of a federal consent decree and a federal judge. We have to wrestle that away from them, and even if she gave it to us today, it would take a decade to build that police department back up. And so in the meantime, we're going to reconstitute that troop. That troop is not going to just be centered in the center of New Orleans, the French Quarter, or it will be centered in the French Quarter, and we are here to protect the city and one of its greatest assets this state has. As it stands, there will be a major increase in police presence planned for Mardi Gras. Newly appointed Louisiana State Police Superintendent Robert Hodges said 130 troopers will be assigned to New Orleans during Mardi Gras. Hodges believes Mardi Gras will be a success for the world to see before New Orleans hosts the Super Bowl in 2025. Right. He said that the Louisiana upcoming special session on crime will further outline the state police plans to reduce crime. Now, in this news conference, Jeff Landry also hinted at a willingness to explore expanding execution methods, saying he is committed to upholding the contractual obligations between the state and victims' families after a death sentence has been handed down in the court.
Yes.
I've committed myself to those victims' families because I have sat in front of those families. I have listened to those families from all over the state, Landry said. They deserve their day of justice. This is what the jury granted them, and I and the legislature are going to fulfill our commitments. Mm-hmm. Around 60 people currently sit on Louisiana's death row, according to the Department of Public Safety and Corrections. However, amid legal battles and lethal injection drug shortages, executions in the state have stalled, with none currently scheduled.
Right.
Over the past few years, a handful of states have sought to reinstate their execution methods using things such as firing squads. Mm-hmm. Most recently, Alabama carried out the first execution using nitrogen gas. Of course, we reported on that.
And I covered it on our RLRC original.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was a bonus episode.
That was a patron bonus.
Right.
When the state put Kenneth Eugene Smith, a convicted murderer, to death on January 25th, it was also the first time a new execution method has been used since lethal injection. Now, the most common one was introduced in 1982. States around us are finding ways and methods in order to execute that have those who have tried and been convicted and sentenced to death. Landry said the idea of using nitrogen gas for executions is gaining traction elsewhere in the country. Mm-hmm. The state of Oklahoma already has a law authorizing the use of nitrogen gas, as does Missouri. And some others, including Nebraska, have introduced measures this year to add it as an option. Last year, there were 24 executions carried out in 5 states, according to Washington, D.C. based Death Penalty Information Center. 29 states either have abolished the death penalty or paused executions. We told you many times, both me and Woody, on Bloody Angola, that the new leadership that this governor with this governor coming in would bring a major focus on crime, and it looks like that is occurring.
I got a lot of things I want to say on this. I don't know. I'll start from the back end and work, whatever. The execution. So Jeff Landry was a former attorney general, which is the top cop.
And a former cop before that.
And the attorney general is the top cop or law enforcement position in the state of Louisiana. We knew he was going to. He's a stickler, y'all. He's a hard ass, but he's fair. I mean, he's even went to one point of suing the district attorneys and stuff when you're supposed to be on the same side. But back to it, the execution that just happened in Alabama, that they were so worried it wouldn't work, et cetera. And they said he convulsed a little bit. Well, the problem was he held his breath for approximately 4 minutes to try to not to breathe in the nitrogen. And that's what the warden said. And they were like, bro, quit holding your breath. And I mean, it's going to get you, right? And so he was thrashed when he was doing that. And it killed him. I can't say it killed him painlessly, but he stabbed that preacher's wife, I think, like 100 times in a murder for hire program. That's what he was sentenced for. I think that is, to me, it's probably more humane than lethal injection. But you and I have been talking about it on Bloody Angola. They are about to start killing them and legally killing them, legal homicide by the state of Louisiana. Thing being that the only good caveat about all these delays is while John Bel Everett, the former governor, was basically he came out in the end and said, I was never going to execute anybody anyway because I don't believe in it. The appeals process has still been going on for all these guys all this time. So their shit's over with. As soon as they start reissuing the death dates, there's no more appeals. The longest running one, I was right here in Livingston Parish where his lover raped and tortured this little boy all night, and an 8-year-old thing the kid was, all night long, and then shot him in the head and left him on the side of the riverbank. He's been up there for 40-something years on death row. His lover that was sentenced to death also died while he was on death row. All right, that's how long they've been there. So those dudes are going to get what they got coming, working back towards New Orleans. There's actually still a state troop. The Troop B is in New Orleans, but it's in Kenner. When you come across the bridge, it's used to be the airport exit. It's to the left-hand side. Now, the problem with putting a whole new troop in New Orleans is state police can't. They either, and of course, John Bell Everson's office, but they cut the funding for these training academies. Now you got everybody that's retiring or everybody that gets fired or quit or whatever. They can't. We went from, if you're good at your job, you got punished because they would take away your support and everything else, and they keep piling more and more on you because the attrition rate of the people leaving and then those academies, and they're like 6 months, but the hiring process for the academy is like a year and a half. So they don't have the funding, they don't have the manpower to replace them. I don't know where the hell they think they're going to get 40 more troopers from, and moving them in from other troops. Those troops are all across the state, A, B, C, D, E, I, L, whatever.
It's Troop A in Baton Rouge.
It's Troop A in Baton Rouge, and then B in New Orleans, and it just goes around. But the thing is, there's not enough of them, and unless they start running 6 academies a year, which physically impossible, 2 would be impossible, I would think. I was actively involved in the hiring process on all of them, doing the polygraphs and stuff like that. It takes forever. They have to go before oral boards and written boards and polygraphs and psychological checks and physical PT tests and all this stuff just to get to the academy. And then you get to have all the ones they fell out of the academy. That's a badass academy, right? Yeah. And so I don't know where they're going to get 40 from, because you can't just have 40 green troopers, right? You got to have command staff. Yeah. And everything else. But it's interesting. I think it's certainly worth a shot.
Yes. And you're absolutely, one of the concerns was the lack of state troopers available. Right. That's why he's having this special session in order to seek this funding to hire more. Maybe he's going to give the existing guys a raise and offer a good starting salary to where, I don't know, maybe some people.
A lot of them are offering signing bonuses too.
Yeah, but you still got to get the people trained. Now, one of the things they did start doing is, I got recruited over as a criminal investigator too, which at the time was the highest ranking criminal investigator they had, but I had the previous law enforcement experience. They were experts at writing tickets, accidents, and DWIs. They didn't know dick about investigating, right? And so what they're doing is they're hiring seasoned vets and only making them go through like a 6-week academy instead of the 6-month academy. So whatever they need to do, I agree with them. Having more troopers on the ground and it's a visual deterrent at the very least. Put them down there in the most, high profile, high crime area, et cetera. It can't hurt. Yeah. Community policing, however they're going to do it, I don't know. But talking about bringing them in from Mardi Gras, they do that every year anyway. Ship them in from all over, put them up in the hotels. But not only that, the state police are over DPS, Department of Public Safety, which those are the cop cars that you see instead of blue trooper uniforms, they wear the gray.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the state police, but it's just a different badge and what have you. They do that, and then they bring in all the Department of Corrections people, the CERT teams and all that to work Mardi Gras and everything else. So, but Mardi Gras is a big deal, and I'll get off my high horse about it, but there's a lot of things to say.
Well,
it's going to be an interesting
huge change in Louisiana crime for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's no doubt about it. And the thing is, Jeff Landry is really not a politician. So he's not going to play games with them and sugarcoat shit and hold their hands. He's going to fight crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm all about.
No, you know what? It feels like there's an increased presence uptown. I don't know why, but it feels that way. So I actually feel pretty safe these days. Like when we first moved here, I was a little sketchy on it, but much more these days, and I see a lot more people walking at night than I did when we first came. So maybe there's been an effort to focus on those areas of town.
Yeah. Well, when Antoine's and all the famous and Brennan's and all the famous restaurants can't have patrons come in because they're getting carjacked before they can get out of the car and stuff, they're gonna have to address that now.
Well, that's the problem is you've got so many of the great restaurants in those kind of areas where there's a great restaurant uptown called Clancy's. I don't know if you've eaten it. Well, Clancy's, you're lucky if you can get in 6 weeks from now because people are going there because it's great, comparable with those other places, but you don't have to worry about that neighborhood at all. So,
well, it's going to be interesting to see that New Orleans has always had but especially pre-Katrina, when you could go from your house literally a block and a half, and they had housing projects. I'm talking about like full-scale, high-rise housing projects where you didn't go in one cop at a time. They had their own housing police, part of the NOPD. But I mean, it was the worst housing project. The Desire and the Ninth, whatever. You could be in the richest neighborhood in New Orleans and go 2 blocks and you're hitting a house project. They tore them all down after Katrina and built all kinds of different housing, et cetera. But the New Orleans, I love New Orleans. I've always loved New Orleans, but they need to bring it back. I don't even go down there anymore because of what's going on now. Right. Because I could go down by myself. My friends are talking about going for Mardi Gras. I'm like, I don't want to go with them because I have to watch their back the whole time. They don't know what I know, right? And not looking for what I'm looking for. But anyway.
Yeah, your head's on a swivel these days.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I hope they bring it back and make it safe again.
Amen.
All right. So let's talk about marriage or.
Okay. That's a good segue.
No, well, you know what? Fuck that. I don't want to talk about marriage. Let's do that. Well, I'll tell you the story, though. An Oklahoma man named...
that's not a good marriage.
Named Chris Borland. I don't know. Well, I'm sure there are good marriages. An Oklahoma man named Chris Borland is accused of murdering his wife of less than 1 month.
Wow.
And her name was Cassie Ritchie, right? Ritchie's body was found in her wrecked car under a pile of clothes Sunday when investigators served a search warrant on her light blue SUV, which witnesses reported was wrecked off a creek in Catoosa, Oklahoma, near the I Don't Care Bar and Grill.
That's a great name.
Right? That's a good one.
Makes me want to go there and eat a sandwich.
According to police, her car was reportedly last seen Friday by the bar. Ritchie's body was found in her SUV, hidden in a very small space and covered with clothing and boxes. She had several injuries from what police claim was blunt force trauma. On Monday, Chris Moreland was arrested on first-degree murder charge. And on January 25th, Tulsa police asked for the public's help in finding the woman after her parents filed a missing persons report that day. Ritchie's family had not heard from her since January 21. At the time, police believed that Ritchie had been involved in a domestic disturbance. Moreland was initially taken into custody by Tulsa police on warrants out of Texas. During questioning, police alleged Moreland told several stories and gave multiple versions of the stories, and we know what that leads to, y'all. Moreland would not come off any of his stories and maintained that Ritchie was just somewhere visiting a friend. Moreland refused to sign a waiver to search Ritchie's car and instead requested law enforcement obtain a warrant, which they did, and that's where they found her, y'all. Ritchie and Moreland got married on January the 7th in Tulsa.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
I mean, you couldn't make it a month.
Hell, that's shorter than my shortest marriage. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't know. And
no motive yet either.
I'm
they
sure
can find.
I'm sure it's
She was hacking on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got the ring.
She was a nag.
The thing about getting married, you love them to death, and then you get married, and you get in an argument. You got to come home sooner or later.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think
Until you don't.
I think she very quickly, like in a week, within a week, was telling family that this wasn't good, and she was scared, and they were telling her to get out, and she was planning to get out, but she didn't get out.
Oh, sad. Prayers for her family and all those that loved her.
That's right.
Yeah. Listen to family. If you have a bunch of family members telling you that the guy or the gal isn't for you or isn't, just
it doesn't work. Doesn't work. It didn't work for me when I was a young man. It doesn't work.
It almost has the opposite
some
effect
loved ones.
exactly.
Sadly, someone I won't talk about, but that's going through something right now, and I'm like, I'm not even saying anything. Let her figure it out on her own, because if I try to say, hey, this, and this, I might push her over to him, right? And then what ultimately happens is they get mad, and if they want to dump on the person, and then they end up going back to him. And so you're like, and then they go back to him, and then they cut you off and don't want to talk.
Yeah. Well, if it's just somebody, if it's just somebody you think isn't a good guy or isn't a good, it's a whole nother thing if you think somebody's capable of violence, and like in this case. But
I don't know.
I don't know either. Let's go to the Garden State.
New Jersey.
I
don't think there's anything I like about New Jersey. Man, I like
Tony Soprano.
I like Atlantic City.
You do? Yeah.
Chris
must not have been there in a long time. Chris Christie? Well, you'd wouldn't have a lot of company in that probably, but
I'm sure it works for some people, but it's not my first choice.
Okay, well, in the newest and perhaps cruelest yet form of vandalism that Real Life Real Crime Daily has reported on, a New Jersey homeowner says her home was vandalized by a group of salami-slinging bandits.
Waste of good meat.
When Heather Doherty of Manville, New Jersey, walked out of her front door on the 24th of January, she couldn't believe her eyes. Pepperoni was everywhere.
Waste of good meat.
From the door to the edge of the porch, and then strategically placed down the stairs to the driveway, and then all the way down the driveway. Slices were placed on the hood of her car, on the top, on the trunk of her car, all over the place. Heather had lived at her home on South Street for 16 years, and it had never been vandalized before. We're trying to figure out who goes around with 2 loaves of pepperoni in the middle of the night and cuts it up.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts that spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser-cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill. And calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gifts to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
Into slices and throws it on people's property, Doherty said. You got nothing better to do with your time? And Angry Doherty posted pictures of the scene on Facebook with the description, quote, "The bandits, as I call them, have been identified by myself. The police are still investigating and charges are pending the outcome of such police investigation." So she believes she's already solved the mystery and knows who did this, but police are still investigating. A local pizza shop owner by the name of Anthony Danello told WPIX-TV that the meat looks larger than the kind commonly used on pies.
That's what I was thinking. It looks way bigger than, I'm looking at the picture, way bigger than Papa John's.
Yeah, they are. They're thick.
First time I've heard
they're thick with the cut. So he said, certainly of the family of pepperoni salami. Exactly what? I cannot be certain. As an Italian, it hurts the heart. So it's unlikely that our vandals come from the pizza trade. While Doherty is certainly not an Italian name, Heather is apparently 50% Italian, and her husband, who goes by a different last name, is 100%. And we Italians may be the least sensitive ethnic group in the country. We laugh at all your stupid mob jokes. Ha ha, funny. But it would be, if we take anything seriously, it's our meats, right? So allow me to clarify. Pepperoni is not an Italian thing, despite its Italian-sounding name. Pepperoni is as American as apple pie. In fact, as I've learned from our friends at Rosetta Stone, the word pepperoni in Italian means big pepper or bell pepper. It has nothing to do with any kind of meat product. Pepperoni is essentially an American version of salami. It's made from beef and cured pork mixed together with seasonings, paprika, black pepper, crushed red pepper, cayenne pepper, fennel, etc. So here's a little pepperoni trivia. The first evidence of pepperoni being used as a pizza topping came in 1950 from a photo of a wall menu at a pizzeria named The Spot in New Haven, Connecticut. I've been to The Spot in New Haven, Connecticut. So pepperoni school's over, and now we'll have to wait to find out if the police can bring back the pepperoni vandals and bring them to justice.
I got one thing to say about that. I see the meat in this picture, and it's very thick. It looks like almost hamburger patties. So I'm going to go out with my genius detective skills and say the offender nor the person they offended against has a dog.
Oh, I would. Yeah,
Right?
Yeah,
Genius.
There you go. That is
There you
genius.
go. Another
That's why
genius
you're
comment
the
from me, right?
resident detective.
There you go. That's love.
A Florida man was arrested Wednesday after striking a Circle K cashier in the forehead with a thrown chocolate egg and then hopping the counter to further batter the victim. Edward Reardon, the convenience store worker, tried to check out a guy by the name of John Mayhaus, and he was next in line. And for some reason, Mayhaus refused to let the cashier handle his transaction. Instead, Mayhaus, who's 27, walked over to another employee, rendered payment, and then takes a chocolate egg and throws it towards the victim, hitting him in the forehead. Nice. Now, the complaint doesn't indicate if the egg was the Cadbury, a Kinder, or a Hershey concoction of some sort. So Reardon asked the guy to leave the Circle K, and Mayhaus becomes irate. He literally jumps over the register counter, and he strikes the victim, starts beating the hell out of him. Mayhaus was arrested for battery, misdemeanor battery, and booked into the county jail on a $1,000 bond. Mayhaus lives about 10 minutes away from that Circle K. It's located in Tarpon Springs, which is a central Gulf Coast city in Florida. And we're going to post the picture because when you see what Mayhaus looks like, you will definitely think he would be the type to throw an egg at you.
Yeah,
a chocolate egg at that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the prototypical, y'all, what you would think of. What you're picturing in your head right now, the guy that would throw a chocolate egg.
Right.
It's exactly what, is it not?
He looks like a...
Look at the smart.
Yeah, not a regular egg, but a chocolate egg for sure.
Yeah,
probably
real tough guy.
Probably
right
whatever
there.
was closest to it.
Mr. Mayhaus.
Yeah.
What a waste of a chocolate egg.
That's it. Yeah.
Winner. That could almost be a dumb criminal, right?
I've been eating those chocolate hearts, the Reese's chocolate Valentine's hearts.
They look like nuts.
Oh, they're so good.
It looks like a penis. With
Yeah. I saw the
It doesn't look anything.
threads on that one.
All right. So talking about that idiot, I'm going to tell you about another idiot. And this really could be a dumb criminal. So Jim, I'm sorry, Aga, I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your shit.
The board
So
is
Justin Marshall, 36 of Slidell, Louisiana, y'all, about an hour and a half from where we're at, had a fun side hustle until he picked the wrong target. Marshall was impersonating a police officer when he attempted to pull over a pickup truck on Interstate 10 in Metairie, outskirts of New Orleans for our listeners. Marshall had no idea the truck he was pulling over was being driven by a Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office deputy chief. Okay. The deputy chief driving an unmarked Ford F-250 saw a white SUV with a Fraternal Order of Police license plate driving recklessly on I-10 near the Bonneville Boulevard exit. And Marshall, the SUV's driver, activated flashing blue lights he had mounted onto the vehicle to initiate a fake traffic stop. Ignoring the impersonator's maneuver, the deputy initiated a legitimate traffic stop. All right, so he turned on his shit, his real shit. Marshall was found not to have a police commission or badge, and the deputy quickly determined he was not a law enforcement officer. He had to be physically restrained, was taken into custody. Deputies found a gun and a police radio in the vehicle, and he was booked into jail for impersonating a cop. Now, usually they do that for like sexual reasons and shit, or they'll have the lights mounted just so they make, like you were talking about earlier, make people get the fuck out of the way. If you come up in Swim used to do it in an unmarked vehicle, and people blocking the lanes on the interstate, I just hit those hidden lights, and then people get out of your way. But this idiot, he pulled over a deputy chief.
Not a good idea.
And he went deep in his investment to impersonate the
lights and the Fraternal Order of Police license plate. He probably stole that. Right.
So they're going to find a bunch of people he either pulled over and did.
Probably not. They're going to waste their time on it. They're going to slap him on the wrist. Now, if somebody comes forward and says, hey, he stopped me and touched my boob or something like that, they'll put more charges on him. But they're not going to spend a whole lot of time investigating it.
And his blue lights, the that are the ones illegal to run, right?
Yeah,
like you can have
certain
lights.
Anything off the internet.
Yeah.
So all right, like troopers and city cops generally have blue lights. Sheriff's offices have the red and blue lights.
Yeah.
So fire departments have just red or red and white.
Yep.
But it's illegal for you to put any kind of a special light.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do it. But
no, you can have them. You just can't have that color.
You can't turn them on when you're driving down the fucking interstate.
Right.
Now, I have to look at that. The only reason you would have to, your excuse you have to say you have them for is like you have a blowout. And I don't even think it's legal for that to put it, and then you turn them on the side of the road as a warning. But that's why you have hazards in your car.
Yeah,
right? There's no reason for somebody that's not a cop to have cop lights at all.
Well, a fireman or something.
Well, the volunteer firemen they can have them, but there'd be the red and whites,
right?
And but there's no reason for it. Certainly anybody. Can
Well, construction guys have the yellow, the amber ones.
That's right. And that's legit.
Yeah.
But interesting. Dumb criminal. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, we had a marriage that lasted only 3 weeks and ended very tragically a little while ago that Woody shared with us. Right. Now I'm going to tell you about a marriage that lasted a long, long time. Bertha and Memo Yelter had been high school sweethearts and took a walk down the aisle together in 1972 before either had turned 20. A good life had enabled them to settle for some quiet senior years in Miami Beach.
There you go.
All had gone well, 2 lives well lived. That is until Memo received a postcard from an ex-girlfriend he had dated 6 decades ago.
Oh, yes.
Bertha didn't like that. Bertha, age 71, has been charged with attempted murder in the 2nd degree and aggravated battery against an elderly person and tampering with a witness or victim after she allegedly bit, bruised, and tried to suffocate her husband. The Miami Beach woman is accused of launching the attack against her husband on January 28th. She's been married to him since she was 19 years old. It occurred after he received a postcard in the mail from a former fling he dated in the 1960s. The contents of the letter have not been made public. I would love to see that letter. On the 28th, Memo Yelter called 911 saying his wife had tried to kill him. According to officers, the victim was in an extremely fragile state with several serious bruises and open lacerations, as well as open bite marks that were bleeding.
Nice.
He told officers his wife Bertha attacked him after he received the postcard. Bertha allegedly tried to smother him with a pillow and took his phone away at one point so he couldn't make a call for help. Bertha admitted to the attack when she was interviewed by cops. Parts were also recorded on a cell phone, which responding police were able to watch. At a bond hearing on Monday, Bertha was ordered to have no contact with her husband of 52 years and will remain in custody until a final hearing takes place later this month. The public defender, who was attempting to get the judge to downgrade the charges, told the bond hearing judge there's nothing indicating she was trying to kill him. An attorney for the state responded, I think if you look at the totality of the circumstances, this appears to be more than domestic battery and by strangulation. Miami-Dade County Circuit Judge Ellen Sue Venzer ruled to keep the more serious charges as they are, and Bertha remains in the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center.
We got to post a picture because I saw the picture of her.
Yeah, she
hey,
looks angry. She looks capable.
You know, I don't know. That dude must have been a stud in his day or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been married all this time and together all this time or whatever. And 59 years later, he gets a postcard?
Well, they were married 52 years.
But he gets a postcard
from the 19th. Somebody dated in the 60s. So it's 60 years.
Maybe she's having a flashback to what a man he was during the summer of love.
Right.
Jealous, but I don't get it.
Well, I go through shit like this with my in-laws sometimes where, you know, after 40 years of happiness, they'll go back and start a fight about something that happened when they were dating in the 1950s. And you're like,
hey, look, you know what? You just brought, that's absolutely true. I'm not going to say who and what story I know, but I know a man who has still been married 52 years and is still jealous as hell of his wife's high school boyfriend. One and he has a last name that's a popular brand of clothing. He refuses to wear any of the clothing to this day, but that dude's name on it.
Come on.
Yeah.
I do that. I know the names. I know the names of guys she dated or went to a prom with or whatever, and I'll make fun of some of that. So can't blame him for that.
Interesting.
Mile high crime time. All right, we're gonna. I usually don't go overseas for mile high crimes. I usually try to stay in the United States, but they've had some crazy stuff lately going on in different parts of the world, and we're gonna tell you about one right now. A woman has been charged with wildlife trafficking after Colombian police found 130 poisonous frogs in her luggage at Bogota International Airport.
I wonder if it's the same plane that the nose or the landing wheel blew off of, because that must have gone to Colombia.
I don't think it was the same one, but the animals were discovered in small film canisters and were dehydrated and stressed. The Brazilian woman who was headed to Sao Paulo via Panama said she had been given the frogs as a gift from a local community in southern Colombia. Local police said the amphibians can actually fetch $1,000 each.
I've seen a picture of these things.
Bogota Environmental Secretary Soto said the fine for being in possession of just one of these frogs could reach 56 million pesos, which is $3,253 and of U.S. dollars. Harlequin frogs, known as poison dart frogs, measure less than the size of a human thumb. Their glands produce a highly toxic poison, which has in the past been used by indigenous people to coat the tips of darts they use for hunting. It is strong enough to kill small animals, and harlequin frogs are critically endangered species, which can be found in the humid forest along the Pacific coast between Ecuador and Colombia, and in other countries in Central and South America. Their endangered status makes them highly sought after by private collectors on international markets. Wildlife trafficking is common in Colombia and across Latin America, a region rich in biodiversity and amphibians, small animals such as those of sharks. Even animal parts from sharks are particularly popular with traffickers.
Right? You wouldn't believe, but I have seen a picture of these frogs. That it came up on like a screensaver or something on TV. I was like, this is really cool looking thing.
Yeah.
It's got the little different color underneath and the bright green and the white inside the legs. I'm like, I've never seen a frog look like that in my life, so I looked it up, and that's what it was, one of those poisonous frogs.
Yeah, man. They're
crazy.
And she had 130 of them.
50 million pesos or whatever.
56 million pesos.
56 million pesos. All right.
So there you go. That's your mile high crime for today.
Here it comes. Kinky crimes for Friday. All right. So let's go to Connecticut. And we're a reputable Connecticut party planner with a fetish for women's abdominals. That's right.
What?
Abdominals. Crafted a creepy fake medical study that allowed him to caress and photograph his employee's stomach for nearly a year.
Wow. This is one of those weird fetishes.
This is a new one,
right?
This is a new one. Brian Casella, 35, was charged with fourth-degree sexual assault in connection to the convoluted scheme after one of his multiple victims came forward. Casella stated that throughout his life, he's found ways to satisfy his fetish and has compensated people with money to perform examinations on them. Interesting. The unnamed victim has been working for Casella's popular events company, Vivid Events, for several months when he seized an opportunity to exploit her digestive issues, which greatly limited her day-to-day life. I guess she had Crohn's disease or something. Knowing his employee was also working odd jobs in order to save for a home with her husband, Casella offered to sign her to a vague clinical trial that would pay her up to several $1,000s for allowing him to record the sounds made by her stomach.
Wow.
He also asked her to sign a contract preventing her from going after vivid events or talking about the study with his wife or her coworkers. I bet he did, who would be jealous of the extra money she was making. The test took place on an office floor of vivid events, which provides DJ service and other bullshit for parties. Casella, the founder, describes himself on the company's website as being known for his classy approach to being an MC and a DJ.
Hell yeah.
So this is what he did, y'all. He initially used a stethoscope to listen to the woman's exposed abdomen, but quickly ditched the tool in favor of placing his bare ear on her stomach. So stupid. As the sessions went by, Casella grew more comfortable with the victim's body and began to lift clothing up on his own in order to check certain areas and touch other areas. After several months, the party planner escalated the ploy and encouraged his employees to take part in a bigger study that involved feeding her sleeping pills when they were the only two in the office.
Oh my God!
The woman agreed, but secretly only took half a dose and pretended to be asleep because she was afraid if she was asleep something would happen and things did not feel right to her. Wearing scrub-style pants and only tape covering her nipples, the victim laid on the floor, feigning sleep for hours as her event planning boss took pictures of her. She refused to take sleeping pills again, and Casella agreed to pretend she was asleep in future trials. But once tied her down with vivid event zip ties in case she moved too much during a test. This dude is twisted. The sessions, which went on for the better part of a year, ended with the party planner handing an employee an envelope filled with cash. Casella also used various tools to make the study seem more realistic, including electrically conductive patches, or that's what we use now for the sweat glands and the polygraph, and sonograms, taking advantage of the opportunity to place the objects in close proximity to her genitals. On her last session, the woman was finally driven to the edge when her boss wiped her vagina while cleaning up gel from a sonogram test. She claimed she believed the tests were for her stomach only. The woman cut ties with study and shortly after quit vivid events. After coming forward to police, she wore a wire to meet with Casella where he apologized for making her uncomfortable and corroborated her accusations. Cops then found more than 1,000 videos and photos of multiple victims during the search of Casella's truck. Remember, I told you, as important thing to do it is to record it in some way. And his truck and office centering on an abdominal fetish that he developed in kindergarten.
Wow.
Right? Fucking crazy.
Developed in kindergarten.
He admitted to police that he acquired most of his victims by posting ads on Craigslist for his medical ploy, which the party planner said he had been doing for years. Casella admitted that he was lying to people while conducting such examinations, stated he knew he was wrong. And anyway, his ass went to jail.
Abdominal.
That is shit as kinky as I've ever heard.
I'm telling you.
He suffers from alvinolagnia,
Which is,
the abdominal fetish.
oh, is that what it's called?
Alvinolagnia.
I didn't look it up. Albino?
ALVINOLAGNIA.
Did you get it off my database list?
Well,
Or
do you
just
think I
made
would
it?
have known that? I mean, it's not-
I didn't know if you were just making it up.
No, alvinolagnia.
Well, there you go. That's told you there's one for something for everybody. That's definitely kinky there.
That's king.
I ain't gonna lie.
1,000 videos.
1,000 videos.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Freak.
Spank bite.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, guys? Since I've seen no disciplinary action taken against Jim Chapman by our board of directors, I've decided to commit my own obvious segment integrity crime, as this story is an obvious. They stole what?
They stole what?
They stole what?
They stole what?
I refuse-
What they steal?
I refuse
Mike
to participate in that.
What did they steal, you ask? They stole 100 king cakes.
right?
That's right. A king cake distributor in Metairie, Louisiana, says that 100 king cakes were stolen from their delivery van early Tuesday, January 30th.
Yes.
King Cake Drive-Thru. I actually heard about this place. I hadn't seen it yet. A distributor working out of the parking lot of Duckworth Tires at 1009 Metairie Road shared the news via Instagram. The business had just launched the first of the year, advertising itself as the first and only King Cake Drive-Thru service.
Right.
The King Cake Drive-Thru sells cakes from notable bakeries.
They say they don't make their own shit.
No, they sell Brennan's, Bywater Bakery, Gambino's, and more.
So let's interrupt you real quick. In South Louisiana, I know you're not from here, but we know all the places that have the best king cakes. And literally, there's fights, fist fights over this. And this place has a better one than this one. These companies that they're selling, they're actually, so you got to get a king cake early in the morning or the midday whenever put them out. You don't want one that's been sitting there all day, and you go in and get that king cake from your favorite place, or you might have 2 or 3 favorite places. These guys actually have a genius concept because they're going to get in everybody's top 10 and selling them in one place. So you don't have to go.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant when I first heard what they were doing. So their Instagram post said, well, early this morning, King Cake Drive-Thru had a first. We had 100 king cakes stolen from our delivery van. The business also said that the thieves had smashed a window of the van and done other damage, so that repairs will have to be made. Adding further insult, a jacket was stolen in addition to the cakes. King Cake Drive-Thru has been operating at Duckworth Tires Friday through Sundays from 7A to 7P since January. And this story reminded me, we had this conversation a while back about the Grandma Got Run Over by a King Cake song, which I don't think either of you were familiar with when we talked about it. So I found the lyrics to Grandma Got Run Over by a King Cake, and only the first verse, which is Grandma got run over by a king cake walking across Canal Street Mardi Gras Eve. You can say there's no such thing as Bacchus, but as for me and Grandpa, we believe.
Yeah, that's right. That's Bacchus' big Sunday night
that
parade.
Would be the Grandma Got
Why
Run
did you
Over
not
by
sing
a
that?
King
Why
Cake.
did you just say it?
Because I can't sing.
Oh, I thought maybe you could.
I sing like Lou Reed,
There you go.
if you remember Lou Reed songs. Anyway, some banjos.
You go.
For the King
Banjos,
Cakes.
dumb criminals. Actually, pretty smart.
The Great King Cake Heist
That's what I had for my birthday cake.
of
I'm going to go there
2024.
and get once they stock back up, I guess.
All right, Woody Overton, any final thoughts?
I just love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that good podcaster stuff. And tell other people about us and send us in your stories if you got something happening in your backyard. And we appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you. The start of the year has brought some growth in our audience. So we passed that 14 million mark, and the daily listener numbers have been up. And so thank you. And let's keep it going.
There you go. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino.
Your host of Real Life, Real Crime Daily. Peace.
I'm glad.